Hi, my name is Duchess Cerric Eldvigandi. Pull a seat up to the fire and let's have story time. Let's tell the story about how Odin got his eight-legged horse named Slepnir, the most powerful horse ever known, and within the same story, how Asgard got a wall built around it. This is a great story. And as the story goes, the gods had a meeting. The gods all sat around in one of the feasts that they loved doing so well, and they were talking about the defenses of Asgard while Thor was away. Thor was the protector, and Thor would protect Asgard from everything, but Thor was off fighting the ice giants. And what do they have to protect Asgard when Thor is gone? So they tried to come up with an idea. We needed a wall. We need a wall around Asgard to protect Asgard when Thor is not around. So where are we gonna get this wall? So they put the word out. They wanted a wall around Asgard. Is anyone able to build this wall for them? And if they could, what was their price? And only one man answered the call. So one man showed up and said that I can build this wall around Asgard, but it's going to cost you. And the gods, of course, figured it was going to cost them. It's a wall around Asgard. So they were like, what is your price, you mortal man? And the man said, I want Freya's hand in marriage, and I want the sun and the moon to be mine. Well, the gods looked at each other, kind of in surprise. Freya was angry, to say the least. How dare this mortal man ask for her hand in marriage? She thought the rest of the gods would just kill him right then, but they didn't, which made her angrier. The gods looked at him, and they're like, how dare you come to us with this offer? You can't build a wall around Asgard, much less build it quickly. And then Loki got their attention. Loki, being the trickster that he is, and being the witty and smart and charismatic man or god that he is, said, well, hang on, gods. Maybe we see what he can do. At the very least, we can get some of the work done for free. He'll never be able to do it. We'll give him some unusual and impossible standard. So the gods reluctantly agreed. Freya did not agree to this at all. Freya was not happy with this arrangement at all, but they went to this man and said, yes, you could build our wall, and we'll give you Freya's hand in marriage, and we'll give you the sun and moon, but you have to build this wall around Asgard, and you've got 1 year to do it. The man agreed. The man agreed that by himself and with his horse, he would build a wall around Asgard. And the gods kind of laughed. They thought this was funny. Freya didn't think it was funny. Freya was angry through the whole situation. She did not like the fact that her hand in marriage was being promised away to a mere mortal man. But the oaths were taken. They made the oath on the great spear of Odin, when everyone knows you can't break an oath that's made on the spear of Odin. But they made the oath nonetheless, and they kind of laughed, and they agreed with Loki that maybe we can get a little bit of this wall built, and it'll be free labor, and then we'll worry about finding somebody else that can do the rest of the job. So this man got started on the wall. Him and his stallion. They got started with this great sled. And they went off to the quarry and they came back. And in the first day, they came back with a full load of stone. The stone was so great on this sled that it dug trenches in the earth behind the stallion. It was amazing. And all the gods sat there with their mouths open, amazed at what this man and the stallion are doing. He is dragging this sled behind him with this mound, this impossible mound of stones. Freya was a little more mad than she was before. She didn't realize she could become more angry, but now she is even more angry that this man is successful at all at what he had planned on doing. So he pulls the stone and he begins working, but the gods are still comfortable. They're still confident. How can this mortal man even achieve a portion of what he had planned on doing? Well, as the year went on, he worked every day from sun up to sundown. Load after load after load did his great stallion bring from the quarry. Huge stones that the gods would have thought impossible to be moved across the land. They were permanent sled marks across the land all the way to the quarry. It was quite impressive. Freya got angrier by the day. It was her hand in marriage that was promised away. She didn't even agree to this. The gods agreed to this for her, thinking it was going to be fun and they would get some free labor. And here it is. This mortal man is actually making progress on this wall around Asgard. Even if it is to protect Asgard, Freya is angry. Freya doesn't want to marry this man. For the safety of Asgard or for not, how dare her hand be promised away? Loki's getting a little nervous and the rest of the gods are getting a little nervous. The gods didn't like this idea, but it was Loki that talked them into it, as Loki does. Loki shouldn't be trusted, but he always is, for some reason. Day after day, this human trekked these stones back and forth, and every day there was improvement on this wall. As the seasons went by, this wall got higher and higher, till it got to the end, and it looked like this guy was going to succeed. He was going to build a wall around Asgard. He was going to succeed in what he said. And an oath made on Odin's spear cannot be broken. If he succeeded, not only were they going to lose the goddess Freya to marriage here, they were going to lose the sun and the moon to him. They promised it. They made an oath on the spear. They were going to lose it. And this man trekked on. He kept towing this back and forth. And of all the gods, as worried as they get, no god got as worried as Loki. Loki started to fret. He started to stress. He started to get really worried because it was his idea. He talked the gods into making this oath with this man. He talked the gods into this, thinking that they would just get some free labor, that they would get a little bit of work done, which might make it easier to find a real person to do it. It is all his fault, and the gods knew it. And Freya was angry. And Loki was scared of Freya. I think they were all scared of Freya. If I had to put my opinion in there, they were all afraid of Freya. Hell hath no fury. It came to the end of the year. The wall was almost complete. 3 days this man had. 3 days he had to complete this wall. And it looked like he was going to get it done. The ruts from Asgard to the quarry would never be filled in. Never. This stallion had pulled these stones that man had cut back and forth from the quarry to the wall so many times that a huge canyon had developed in between Asgard and this quarry. But the man kept working. His stallion kept working. All the gods, their worry and their nervous, turned to anger, and all that anger was faced at Loki. 3 days before the end of the year. And it became apparent that this man was going to finish his job. It became apparent to everyone, including Freya and including Loki. Loki, knowing the wrath that he was going to suffer from Freya, disappeared. None of the gods were surprised. Loki was nowhere to be found. 3 days before the end of the year, Loki's gone. This man still treasures on his stallion, this beast of a horse, still every day for a year, toting these stones from the quarry to the wall, and then back to the quarry again, all day, every day. So now it's the day before the last day. The man goes out to get his stallion, hook it up to the sled. At dawn, the gods are on the gate watching. They're nervous and they're watching. He's almost done. He goes to get this sled. He goes to get his stallion on the sled. And suddenly, a mare appears. Out of nowhere. A mare walks up out of the forest and starts prancing around in the background. And the stallion looks over and catches the attention. And the man calls the stallion and he sees what's going on. And the mare, the most beautiful mare that anybody had ever seen, she's running through the field. She's showing off. She's prancing, throwing her head up, trying to get the stallion's attention, and she had it. She had the stallion's attention. And the stallion looked from the mare to his owner and back to the mare. And the owner realized that he was in trouble. Started calling the stallion, trying to get the stallion over to the sled. And the stallion just stopped. Like any stallion would, any man for that matter. And when the mare flashing her hair and jumping around and being all beautiful in the background, the stallion made his choice. The stallion followed the mare. And they ran off into the woods together and disappeared. Left the man with the sled and 2 days worth of work to finish this wall. And if he could just finish this wall, he would earn Freya Freya's hand in marriage, and he would earn the sun and the moon, both of which wane in comparison to actually having Freya's hand in marriage. But he would have all those things. Those things would be his if he could just finish. So he grabs that sled himself, and he drags that sled to the quarry. And he loads that with stone that he chiseled himself, and he's dragging it back through the earth on the last day. It's the last day, and he's only able to drag one load, and it's not going to be enough. The gods know it. The man knows it. It's not going to be enough. He's not going to finish all the work that he's done, and he's not going to be able to finish because his stallion ran off with a mare into the woods. With his stallion gone, he can't do the work that he was doing. Although he still was able to get the stones, cut the stones from the rock, load them onto the sled, and drag that sled himself all the way to the wall, which is a feat that a mortal man should not be able to do. We all know that. But he drags the sled nonetheless, and he's trying to finish, but it becomes apparent that he's not going to finish. And it is on the last day, and he is angry. The stranger becomes very, very angry because he feels that he has been cheated out of his victory. He has been cheated out of the hand of marriage to the goddess Freya, the ownership of the sun and the moon to do with what he wants. He got cheated out of all that after a year's worth of work. And the gods confront him, and he confronts the gods. He's like, you have used treachery. You have tricked me and used magic to take my stallion away. Of course, the gods didn't know anything about his stallion. It was a beautiful mare that got his attention. That beautiful mare took his stallion away. It's not the god's fault that the stallion couldn't help himself. Just like any male, god or man or giant, any male can't help himself when a beautiful woman shows herself and shows interest. And they're all weak with the beautiful women. Stallion disappeared. The stranger is left on his own, and the wall's not going to be finished. There is a sense of relief throughout the gods, as they were worried for the better part of a year. They were worried. A long time they were stressed over it. Freya was angry. Freya's still angry. It was her hand that was still promised, and it came very, very close to being the hand that was promised in marriage to a man that she did not approve of. So as the man decides to confront the gods, he decides to confront the gods in such a way that he raises anger in Odin. How dare you talk to Odin in this way? There was a promise that was made. The promise has been kept on both sides. If he had finished, they would have given him Freya, the sun, and the moon. For no oath can be broken if it's made on the spirit of Odin. No oath can be broken if you're going to keep honor intact. Everyone knows that. The man was angry, and he began to confront the gods, and just then Thor showed up. Thor, who had been away fighting the giants. He'd been fighting the ice giants as Thor does. Thor showed up in time to hear what was going on, and he confronted the stranger. He told the stranger, he's like, it looks like you have used magic on us to deceive who you are. As there has been magic played on us to deceive who you are, because you are no mortal man. No mortal man could have achieved this. You have used magic against us. That frees us from the oath that we made. And you aren't going to be able to complete this wall. Of course, the gods supported this. They were very happy about this. The man wasn't going to be able to complete the wall, and the man had to have used some sorcery to be able to accomplish all that he had accomplished over this past year. The man revealed himself then, angry. He had been cheated of his victory. He had been cheated of his bride. He had been cheated of the sun and the moon, all of which that he had worked hard for this entire year. And he revealed himself to be the giant that he was. He had used magic to cover up who he was the entire year, which is why he was able to quarry the stones that he did, create the ruts in the earth with the stallion that he did. He created a huge canyon between the wall and between the quarry. He was able to do all that because he was actually a giant. And it was a giant trying to use magic to win the hand of Freya as a bride, and to win the sun and the moon, and to win power over the gods. Thor called him out on this. The giant wasn't real happy about this. The giant thought, ignorantly enough, that he could take Thor. The giant tried to attack Thor. And those of us that know anything about the gods know that was a stupid decision. With one strike, Thor killed him. Thor smashed him into the ground with one strike. That is why Thor has always been the protector. That's why the gods don't feel safe when Thor's not around. Thor killed the giant. Loki was still gone. Nobody knew where Loki was. The wall was pretty much built. Needed one day's work. One day he was away from winning Freya, of taking Freya out of Asgard, of taking the sun and the moon out of the sky away from the gods. One day this giant was away from stealing all this, all that the gods loved. But in the end, it was his stallion. His stallion ran off with a mare, and his stallion left him behind. And it was discovered who he was, and Thor once again saved all the gods as he does. It would be easy to finish the wall now. The gods rejoiced. Freya, still angry, relaxed a little bit, and nobody knew where Loki was. Loki had disappeared. Everybody thought Loki just disappeared because he was afraid of Freya, which is a good reason to disappear. It was about 9 months Loki appeared back again in front of Asgard. He appeared in front of the gods, and he had a gift for Odin, and he showed up, and he didn't explain his disappearance. It had been 9 months, and there was this little foal that followed him around like he was a mom. Loved on him, was attached to him at the hip, wouldn't leave him. And this foal was an 8-legged horse named Slepnir. It's the fastest horse that had ever been seen between gods and man. And Loki gifted Odin. He said that in his travels that he found this foal and decided to give it, as great as a foal as it was, to give it to the god Odin, the Allfather, as a gift. And it was an amazing horse. Slepnir is known throughout the entire 9 realms of being the fastest horse that's ever existed. Oh, the gods. They have their suspicions where this foal came from. The foal that followed Loki around like he was a mom. They have the suspicions of where this mare showed up, this beautiful mare that pranced around. But none of them have the bravery to speak a single word of this in front of Loki. And they'll talk behind his back, but none of them are prepared to suffer the wrath that is the wrath of Loki, of trying to find out where exactly Slepnir came from. So the story stays. Everybody stays quiet. There's a wall around Asgard, and Odin has the fastest horse that has ever existed. And that is the story of Slepnir and the wall around Asgard. My name is Duchess Cerric Eldvigandi. Always pull up a seat to my fire and enjoy a story. Have a wonderful day.